Hey everybody, back with another PSA order. This is going to be the first order out of 3 separate orders. I've currently got 2 other orders at PSA that are currently in grading. This one came back door to door. Took about 7 to 8 weeks, somewhere in that neighborhood. This is going to be an order of mostly PC cards. Eric Davis, Darryl Strawberry, Barry Bonds, Kirby Puckett's, maybe a couple others I can't remember. This order is a batch of 22, maybe 24 cards, I can't remember. Some of these I cracked out of old PSA cases and resubmitted. Some that look very good to me. They look like strong 9s with chances of 10s. Old PSA labels. Just wanted to give it another shot and see if it graded better, or even if it graded the same, I was okay with it because it would get a new label. So here we go. Let's go ahead and crack this open here. All right, let's see. Man, this is different. Okay, just doing it wrong. There we go. Let's go ahead and let's start with this first batch here. No particular order. Alright, not too many in this one. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the second box here too. Go ahead and get them all out together. I've already looked at these grades, so it's not a blind reveal. And for the most part, I was pleased with the outcome. A few surprises and a few disappointments, so kind of a mixed bag. From what I understand, these new PSA cases are different. They have been improved upon. They're harder to crack open, and I believe they have a UV resistant case. So that's a plus. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it here. First card. This is the 1989 Tiffany, Topps Tiffany Cincinnati Reds leaders. This is a card that I've had in my possession for a long time. I knew it was going to grade well. I actually graded this at a 9+, and when I say 9+, I just mean my definition of a 9+ is a very strong 9 with the possibility of a 10. And this came back a Gem Mint 10. I was pleased with that, very pleased. This is a card I've been wanting to get in the 10 for a while. And, yeah, so good looking card there. Alright. Here's a card right here. I actually purchased this off eBay. Eric Davis, Chef Boyardee, perforated. I think it's a 1988 or 1987. It looked very good once I got it. And I mean, obviously when it comes to perforated cards, PSA is very tough. Very rare to get a 10 in these. I feel like this is going to get about an 8. And came back a 7. A little bit off on that assumption there. And yeah. Yep. Good looking card though. A little bit crooked in this case. But that's okay. Came back a 7. Here we go. This is the 1988 Drake's hand cut card. I hand cut these myself. I love hand cut cards, and I love perforated cards. I love cards that are off the grid. This is what I would consider off the grid card, more of a kind of a locally distributed card. These were on the boxes of the Drake's cakes and cookies and pastries and stuff. I had 2 sheets of these, and I cut them myself, and these were the best 2 copies that I had. I knew they were going to grade very well. I was hoping to get a 10, but there again, when it comes to a hand cut or perforated card, you hardly ever get any 10s, and I was pleased with this for the most part. It came back a 9. This one, the only flaw that I saw really was right there. There's a little black print dot. Other than that, man, this card was flawless. I cut it very well. They like to see a little bit of the border. If there's a black edge, a lot of people cut on this black edge, and for PSA, for the most part, that's a no-no. So I leave a little bit of a excess around the border. Try to make it as even as possible. Cut it as smooth as I can. I was very pleased with my cut. But this is going to be a PC card for sure. Mint 9. Same thing with this one. Here's a second copy. Same card, 1988 Drake's hand cut. This also came back at a 9. Now this one, the only flaw was, you can't see it, but right up in here, there's a little bit of red, a little bit of a transfer of dye or ink from something else, because these were box bottoms, basically. So the packages are sliding around, and yeah, I can't get that on camera. Should be, yeah, can't pick it up on the camera, but there's a little bit of red ink or dye kind of on the surface right here. Other than that, this card was perfect. Yep. So I got 2 copies of those. Overall, I was pleased with that. Here we go. This was a card that I've had in my possession for a while. I actually sent this one off to get graded about 6 months ago, and it came back a 9, and I just kept looking at it, and I was like, man, I know this has got to be a 10. It's got to be a 10. And here we go. Here's where I cracked it out from before, and it came back a 9. And with it being graded twice, with it being a 9 2 times, this is gonna be what it is. So I looked at it again carefully, and I did notice on the back of this card there's a little bit of white in that corner. Man, other than that, man, I couldn't see anything wrong with this card. It was perfectly centered, flawless surface. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a strong 9, and that's the way it's going to be. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Could have been worse. They could have downgraded it to an 8. And I've got a couple examples of that coming up here. I'll put that away. Next card. This is a cool card. Another PC card of mine. This is a 1989 KB Leaders, I believe. Eric Davis. If you look on the back here, it's a little bit off-center. I had one of these at a 9 and one at a 10. This is the one I had at a 9 because of the off-center back, and the front's a little bit off-center. This came back at a 9. I was okay with that. I was pleased with that. Just slightly off-center. Other than that, flawless. Here's my second copy. I had 2 copies of it. This is the one I had at a 10. The back is perfectly centered. Came back at a 9. The front is within the guidelines. It's not quite perfectly centered left to right, but it's still within the PSA 10 guideline for centering. And I thought this was going to get a 10, but it came back a 9. These surfaces are glossy, so the grading, when it comes to grading glossy cards, it's a slippery slope, because any little imperfection on the surface is going to show up on that gloss. But this came back at a 9, and overall I was happy. Hand cut card. Another hand cut card. Go figure. This is a 1989 Baseball Cards Magazine Eric Davis hand cut. I had this one at a 10. Again, I mentioned they hardly ever hand out 10s, but man, this this is a perfect example of why PSA doesn't give out 10s. I inspected this card with a fine-tooth comb, magnification under different spectrums of light. No issues whatsoever. The cut I did was flawless. Maybe I didn't leave enough of a border. Maybe I cut it a little too close. I mean, but the surface, completely flawless. Came back at a 9. That's still a strong grade for a hand-cut card. I wouldn't say I was totally displeased, but, you know, 9 is a strong grade, especially on a 1989 hand-cut. So, PC card. Alright, this is a 1988, what is this, 1988 KB, I think? I don't know, could be wrong. A little bit of chipping right here on the edge. I had this coming in at a 9 due to the slight chipping. The centering is just a slight bit off. Yeah, okay, 1988 Rite Aid. Yeah, Rite Aid. Came back at a 9. The front was dead centered. No issues on the front, completely flawless. Again, the issue is on the back where it's just slightly off center. But I think what really dinged me was the chipping right there. And you can see that. But a 9, I'm happy with that. PC card. Eric Davis is mainly who I primarily collect. And of course, Strawberry and Puckett and a little bit of Bonds. All right, here's a disappointment right here. Again, a glossy card. This was just about dead centered. I had this at a 9. I didn't really see any issues with it other than the centering just slightly off a bit. So I actually had this at a 9+ with a chance of a 10. Definitely a strong 9. Bam, 6. Either I missed something or they damaged it. And again, I inspect these with a fine-tooth comb. My guess is there's a dent somewhere where it was handled. If it was by me or by them, I don't know. But this one is the only card out of the bunch that I was way off on grading. So the only thing I can figure, there's a ripple, not a ripple, but there's like some kind of there's got to be some kind of dent somewhere. I haven't really inspected this. Obviously, I just opened it out of the box. I mean, you can't see it on the reveal on their website. I'll have to look at this at certain angles under a different light, and it is what it is. So if I don't see anything, I don't know. I don't know if it's really worth cracking and resubmitting because it's a low dollar card. It's just PC card. I'm trying to collect a lot of the Eric Davis's, especially his obscure cards like this right here. So, but that is what it is. All right, Team Leader 1988 Fleer KB. I had this at an 8+. I was hoping to get this in a 9. A little bit of chipping right here. That's known for these cards. Slightly off center back. The front looked very good. I really thought this had a shot at a 9, but came back at 8. Within 1 grade of my expectations. So, yep. 1988 Fleer KB, Team Leader Eric Davis. All right, here's 2 1985 Tiffany's right here. These 2 cards have been in my possession for quite some time. I originally sent both of these off to get graded throughout the past couple years. And they both came back 9s. I felt strongly one of them was definitely a 10. The other was a 9+. And let's see here. There's the label from one of them. And there's the other. Both 9s. One of these was graded earlier in the year. And the other was graded a few years back. I've looked at these and I'm like, man, you know, I know it's got a glossy surface. They're strict, especially when it comes to these 85 Tiffany rookies. They're going to be graded with scrutiny, but I said, you know, I'm going to give it one more shot. I cracked them. I cracked both of them. Obviously, they're both 9s, as you can see right here. 9 and a 9. And I felt like there was a chance one of them could get a 10. I also felt like there was a chance they might even degrade one of them, lower it to an 8. And here's the first one. Got an 8. Completely centered. What I thought was flawless. When I cracked this one, I did notice when I was looking under a certain spectrum of light at an angle, there's a slight, I mean, man, you got to really hit it at the right angle. There's a slight faint, ever so faint scratch right here. And when I saw that under my pre-grading, I said, man, this is definitely no better than a 9. They might give it an 8. And guess what? They caught it. They gave it an 8. So that's the luck of the draw when you go to cracking and resubmitting. But you know what? The grade's probably fair. You know, with it being a faint scratch and a Tiffany surface. So, but this car is completely centered. Dead centered. Sharp edges. Sharp corners. Back is centered nicely. This could go either way, 8 or 9. So, here's the other copy. Dead centered, flawless. I didn't see anything with this whatsoever. No scratches of any sort, under any angle, under any light. Completely centered, dead centered, which is rare for this 85 Eric Davis because this card is on the very far edge of the print sheet. And when I cracked this and looked at it, it just confirmed to me that this card is misgraded. This is a 10. I looked and looked and looked. I spent probably 10 minutes looking over this card. And something else I noticed about this card, if you look at them closely, you might not be able to see it on camera, but this card right here that got an 8, the border is slightly darker than this. One thing about these Tiffany's is sometimes you can get borders that are dingy. This border right here is almost snow white. So this is my best copy. I still feel like it should get a 10, but I'm not going to crack something open twice. I'm going to let it stay in its final resting place. I know what it is. It's definitely a strong 9 PC card for sure. All right. Let's see. Let me put them away. Next one, 1987 Fire Safety Fred McGriff. This is a favorite card of mine I've had for a while. I submitted this once already, and it came back at an 8, and I knew that was wrong. I knew this card was a solid 9 with a chance of a 10. So I cracked it out of the old case, and and I looked at it again. I said, man, this is a strong 9. Matter of fact, this is a 10. So I resubmitted this bad boy, and it came back a 9. So I'm happy with that. I think it got its justice due. Justice has been served for this card. This is one of my favorite cards, PC card. Yeah, so did good on that one. Oh, sorry. Okay, we're getting into some matter of fact, let me go ahead and let me go ahead and do this one. This is a card I picked up on eBay a few months back. You don't see these often. These are rare Eric Davis cards. I wouldn't say ultra rare. You'll see these pop up on eBay maybe twice a year. And I've always wanted a copy of this card, and I finally got it. And I knew this wasn't going to grade well. I didn't care. I didn't care if it came back a 5 or what. I just wanted it slab for my PC. And my pre-grade on this was a 7. And because it's a little bit off center, and when I got it, when I looked at the reveal, they agreed with me, 7. As you can see, it's off center. This card is notorious for being off center. I think only 3 of these have been graded. The highest is an 8. There's one out there that's a 4, and I got the copy of a 7. Cool card. Definitely a rare Eric Davis card. These were only put out in limited print runs. Texas Gold, 1986 Ice Cream Reds. PC card. Here we go. This was a disappointment. I've had this card in my possession for a while. This is a 1985 7-Eleven Twins Kirby Puckett. You don't see many of these. These come around on eBay once or twice a year. I got this card a few years ago, and I've always looked at it. Man, the front's dead centered. I said, you know, I'm going to crack this. I'm going to crack this and resubmit it. Because I've seen 10s in this copy that are off-center, and looking through the case, everything looked flawless. But when I cracked it, I noticed on the back, right up in here, there's a little bit of wear. And there's a little bit of yellow, like a yellow stain, like just ever so faint. And if you look closely, once I cracked it, I can see where someone looked like they tried to rub it out. And I said, oh man, this is definitely no better than a 9. I said, you know what? They might even drop this down one. And sure enough, they dropped it down to an 8. So there's some things you can't see until you know, you inspect it further. And that's probably about right. I can see it going either way, a 9 or 8. But that's the luck of the draw you have when you go to cracking and resubmitting. It can be the same. It can go up 1. It can go up 2. It can go down 2 grades. This went down 1, so this is one I kind of lost out on. But it's still a PC card of mine. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it. Here we go. 1984 Darryl Strawberry, Donruss. I've had this card in my possession for a long time. I always thought this was a strong card. This was in a PSA case as well. Yeah, here we go. This card is just about dead centered. 1984. This is the old label, mint 9. I said, you know what? I'm going to resubmit it. I think the worst that it could do is come back at a 9. It's worth a shot. So I sent it off and came back a 9. Came back a 9. Definitely a strong 9. One of my favorite Darryl Strawberry cards, the 1984 Donruss. Okay. Here's another crack and resubmit. This was an old label. 1983 Topps Traded Darryl Strawberry. It was a mint 9. It always looked strong to me, presenting in this case. I cracked it open, and when I cracked it open, I did find a flaw on it. Right here on the edge, there's a slight imperfection on the edge. So when I cracked it, even though I saw that, it still presented like a good 9. And I figured, man, even if this comes back the same grade as a 9, I'm okay with that because it'll have the new updated label. And sure enough, came back a 9. So at least, you know, out of anything, it's an updated case with the UV protection. It's harder to crack. And it's a new updated label with the serial and the code right there. So this was actually a win for me. Here we go. Here's a good one right here. 1986 Donruss, the Rookies, Barry Bonds. This was a crack and resubmit. This is a copy I've had for a very long time, and I always thought this was undergraded. And I said, you know, if anything, even if it comes back a 9, it'll have the upgraded label. I mean, this is old school right here. It starts with a 0. I said, if anything, even if it comes back a 9, it'll have the new updated fresh label, fresh case, you know, upgraded case. Let's do it. So I did it. And, you know, left to right is slightly off center, but top to bottom is dead on. But the surface, man, when I cracked it and looked at it, the surface was flawless. Absolutely flawless. And it came back Gem Mint 10. Gem Mint 10. So I'm happy with that. Very, very happy. Not only did I get an upgraded case, but I got a enhanced grade. This went from, well, value don't really matter but so much because it's a PC card regardless. But I think in a 10 these go for around 200. A PSA 9 you're looking 25, 30 bucks. All right. 86 Fleer. Okay. Here's one right here. I've had my possession for a while. I thought this would get a 9. A little bit off center on the back, but no chipping, really no edge wear. There might be just a touch of white right there. This is the Dwight Gooden 1986 Tiffany, Topps Tiffany. Slightly off center top to bottom. Left to right's dead on. The surface is flawless, but they gave it an 8. They gave it an 8. I was hoping to get this in a 9. This is a cool card. I like. Yeah, it is what it is. It's within one grade of what I thought. So, all right. So we're gonna get into the last bunch here. This is the 1986 Fleer cards. These cards right here, I've got a bunch of 86 Fleer, but these were some of my best copies. And first copy here is a 1986 Kirby Puckett. These cards are known to have a lot of chipping. This one had very little at the bottom. I've seen PSA 10s have a lot more chipping than this. This was centered fairly well, just slightly left to right, but still within the PSA 10 guideline. And they gave it a 9. I think they grade these 86 Fleers tough. PSA 9. All right, Barry Bonds. This one had a little bit of chipping up top. This was originally in a old school label, starting with a 0, just bone stock PSA label, and I figured, well, I don't see it getting a 10, but, you know, we'll give it a shot. Hell, it might even go down to an 8. But, you know, I got a fresh label now. The front is pretty good condition, no issues, just a slight twinge of white right there, just ever so slight. Came back a 9. New PSA label, fresh case, updated, UV protection. So, yep. All right. And the last two, Darryl Strawberry, 86 Fleer. This one had very little chipping at the bottom. Very little. I had this at a 9+ with a shot at a 10. And it came back at a 9. This was just about dead centered. Best it could do is a 9. Alright, here's one right here that was a little bit of a disappointment. I thought for sure this would get a 10. This is the best looking copy out of all of my 86 Fleers. And just so happened to be Eric Davis, my favorite player. The bottom, just ever so slight chip. I've seen 10s with massive chipping down here. I've seen 10s where this line up here and this line right here are crooked. These dark lines. This card is dead center just about. Ever so slightly off left to right. Top to bottom is perfect. They gave this thing an 8. The surface is flawless. I don't know what they found. I mean, I don't know, man, but I was thinking minimal. This would get a 9 with a good shot at a 10. It just, I don't know, man. It presents very well. It's just, I've seen 10s that look worse than this. So, but other than that, that's it. Overall, some victories. Overall, some letdowns. But for the most part, throughout the whole thing, it's about what I expected, just about. So, I've got 2 more batches that are currently at PSA, and hopefully I'll get one of them back late next week. I should get the grades on it Monday. It's a 90 special, and then I have another order out. That 90 special, I think, was 24 cards, and then I have another order out, mostly 80s. I think that one's 34 cards. That one's still in the grading processes. That still might be another 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, appreciate it, guys.